which actually makes it a little bit easier because that way
we just
because
go.
when we're answering, we don't have to.
And
what about Maryville?
Let's aim to stop at 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's fine. Well, that gives us plenty of time.
1 minute.
To talk.
Yeah, which if we want to end sooner, we can.
It's fine. And we can keep, I like that. We can kind of use our time.
Joining us here on this live stream, we wanted to take some extra time tonight to talk about the potential impacts from Helene here in East Tennessee. Yeah, and it's a high impact event. A weather impact alert is going to continue tonight into our Friday. Cassie, we're talking about a 1-2 punch. We've had 2 days in a row of heavy rainfall, and now we're looking at high winds from Helene, a weakening system, but it's going to be very impactful for much of the southeast and going to bring us more rain, heavy rain that could lead to flooding, more high winds that could lead to downed trees and power outages. So that's kind of that 1-2 punch that we're concerned with locally, but it's going to have a huge impact for many areas. And the impacts from Helene, I don't want folks to discount what's going to happen because we are affected by the remnants of tropical systems quite often here in East Tennessee. So this is not anything new, but there's something different about this one compared to the past ones, and that's that this one is going to be stronger when it reaches here than most of ours are. So I've had some people on social media be like, y'all are so silly, tropical systems weaken. Yeah, this one is too, but it's also coming in as a Category 4 hurricane when it makes landfall, and it's moving really fast. It's those two things. How strong is it to begin with? It's forward momentum. A lot of times, when tropical systems make landfall, if they slow down, of course they could have more time to weaken. Well, here's the key. It's not really going to slow down much. It's going to move through pretty quickly and accelerate very fast. It could be a hurricane and then a tropical storm through the whole state of Georgia. Think about that a second. We're going to show you that. Think about that, maybe just south of Chattanooga before it weakens and it crosses over the Tennessee line. So it's going to be a very impactful storm. So part of that is we really want you at home to take this very seriously, make your preparations this evening so you're not surprised by what happens, because things are going to develop overnight tonight. Right. And on top of that, we're not just talking about impacts from Helene being bad, it's because we've already had so many days of heavy rain, kind of a pre-event to the main event, the opening act. That has set us up for more of a problem when Helene comes in than we would have had if our weather had not been so active lately. It's you mentioned the pre-event, and there is even a name for that. The stalled front that moved in, as expected, it brought significant rainfall to much of our region, and that just laid the groundwork, no pun intended, for the heavy rainfall, saturated the soils. I mean, Cass, just real quick, big picture moment. We're in a drought. Yes. Well, still technically right now. Had fire danger. Fire danger. It's been hot and dry, desperately needing rain, and all of a sudden, whoosh, 180, and now we're talking about significant rains, flooding, and we're talking about the potential with trees in the weaker root systems that once you get high winds on top of the saturated soils, that combination, that's the other big concern, especially in the mountains and foothills, for downed trees and power outages. You're going to hear us talking about charge your devices and be prepared for possible power outages. So let's give you a big picture view first of what's going on in the tropics. Right now we have 4 different systems that we're kind of keeping an eye on at this point. There is another named storm, by the way, out in the Atlantic right now. It's Isaac. It's not going to be bothering anybody, but that's the I storm, and it's off the list now. We have Helene back here in the southeast that we're really going to pay a lot of attention to. We have another wave over near where Todd is that we're watching for potential development, likely to become Joyce. We'll check the J name off the list, though. That one should also turn out into the Atlantic. And then this area is exactly where Helene just developed. And again, for next week, we're watching for the potential of
a tropical wave to get into this region and once again be in a favorable environment for development. Just a reminder to everybody, we're still in the middle part of the most active part of hurricane season.
So if that one's Joyce and it's all about timing, that could be Kirk, maybe.
I'm glad you knew the K now. I did
well,
not.
I just looked earlier today. Exactly. It may be Leslie after that, but anyway. Yeah, we'll go from there.
So here's Helene. It is now a Category 4 hurricane. Category 3+ is considered a major hurricane.
Yeah.
At this
strong.
point, the winds, it doesn't make a difference.
No.
Whether it's 130, 135, or it drops to 125. At this point, the impacts are the same in the state of Florida. And the other thing I want to bring up about this is, first of all, it looks very strong, or very healthy, I should say, on the satellite radar. Will continue to strengthen all the way up until landfall.
Right.
It's moving to the north-northeast at 23 miles per hour. That's pretty fast for a tropical system.
Right.
And that should have it making landfall at about 10 to 11 p.m. tonight.
Right. Somewhere, the Big Bend, maybe a little bit on the eastern edge of that. You got Cedar Key and Steinhatchee. And, of course, you know this region very well from Tampa all the way up. So the storm surge.
It's the storm surge. But, I mean, the wind is going to be a big deal, too, because if you remember Hurricane Michael back in 2018 that made landfall up here near Panama City, Mexico Beach,
your fingers, right
up in that area, it damaged the trees so badly. You could see them on the satellite imagery all the way up into South Georgia, where there was a swath where that wind just took them apart.
I mean, it's almost like
wind,
like wiped it clean.
Wind is a big concern with this. In fact, my parents are over in Pinellas County. Can you point to where that is, just to the left of the T?
You got to help me out here,
right
there. Okay.
Yep. So my parents are over there. They're texting me right now, and they're like, "Whoa, the wind!" Because they're starting to have hurricane force gusts right now.
Right.
The thing about Helene is it is a very large tropical system.
Right.
So the hurricane force winds extend 60 miles from the center. The tropical storm force winds are almost 350 miles from the center.
In yellow right here, right?
So a very broad impact outside of where that actual core is. The thing about a large hurricane like this is it's had a lot of time to build up the water underneath it.
Right.
And this part of Florida here is it's shallow and it just funnels the water up. So right through here, they're expecting 20 feet, 15 to 20 feet of storm surge. Because this is so low lying, that could literally go 10 to 15 miles inland from the coast in those areas, up the rivers and into the swamps. On top of the water level, you've got the large crashing waves.
Yes.
Franklin, Wakulla, and Taylor counties right here have asked the entire county to evacuate.
Wow.
Countywide evacuations. They're not opening shelters. They need everyone to leave because
not just the
that's how
immediate
dangerous
coast,
it is.
but the entire counties.
Yeah, because of the wind and because of the potential storm surge reaching so deeply inland.
I mean, it's like you said.
Big impacts.
The ocean moving in some 50, I mean, basically the literal part of the ocean, at least to a certain depth. I mean, and it's all fun. I mean, look at how the shape of it. Mm-hmm. It's all that water's going to come in and just hone in on that one point. Not going to be pretty. Steinhatchee, some others.
Yeah.
Not going to be pretty.
Not so great. So that's the Florida impact. Now here's where we want to go with this from here as far as paying attention to what Helene does.
Right.
So number one, Helene, giant storm.
Yeah,
that
huge wind field.
That means it's kind of got its own little environment going on right now, and it's going to take a lot to bring that storm down. It's moving very, very fast to the north, and that's why hurricane force winds are extended all the way up into Georgia, just to the south of Atlanta. That's hurricane warnings.
Yeah.
And tropical storm warnings come all the way up into western North Carolina and up to the Tennessee-Georgia state line up here. That is intense. Yeah. Look at this. This is still a Category 2 hurricane.
Right.
Up all the way into South Georgia. It could still be a strong tropical storm or minimal hurricane in Atlanta tomorrow morning.
In Atlanta. Have you seen the social post on there's been some chatter, I think it's Brad Panovich in Charlotte was talking about, this could be Atlanta's version of Hurricane Hugo, what Charlotte saw back in 1989 when Hugo was a hurricane all the way through, then took a kind of right-hand turn on 85 and still had hurricane force gusts near Charlotte. Could have near hurricane force winds into the Atlanta area, and then it could still be a tropical storm through much of North Georgia. You're moving into mountainous terrain. It's going to be weakening the whole time. It is going to be weakening to a tropical depression low, etc., then just a remnant low as it makes its way through our region. But here's the point that you made, Cass. Don't pay attention. Yeah, that right there is still some strong winds. This is just a cone, but remember the wind field?
Yes.
And when they
come
in,
that's just where the center could go.
Expand. That wind, the rain, everything's just going to be so large. And so this is incredible. I have family, talked to my brother today up in Asheville. He said yesterday they got significant flooding, a lot of flooding around Biltmore just yesterday from the stalled front. Now you're going to bring Helene and all that orographic uplift with that tropical plume of moisture, maybe 6 to 12 more inches of rain here. And so really, really some devastating type of flooding and wind damage potentially throughout much of this region.
Yes, and actually near the Biltmore,
yes,
there's a river that runs through there, and that river is forecast to be at or higher than the highest record, which was back in 2004, was the last big flood there.
I saw a reference to that, yes.
And that 2004 flood was devastating to that area.
Yeah.
So we want everyone tonight to hunker down and just stay put here in East Tennessee. And if you're watching us from somewhere else, or you have friends and family that are somewhere else, I also want to explain 45 miles per hour, a low right here. What that means is that it is non-tropical.
Right.
So it's not meeting the criteria to still be a tropical storm, but it's still producing tropical storm winds. The big deal about this is to not worry about the nomenclature.
Yeah.
If it's a tropical storm or it's a post-tropical system, don't worry about it. Worry about the impacts that we're telling you about. And that's the same thing with the tropical storm warnings. We've had people ask, why do we not have tropical storm warnings if we're going to have tropical storm conditions with the wind and rain?
Yeah. It's a good question.
It's relevant.
Yeah.
But it's not really important what the name of the alert is. It's important to pay attention to what the alert is for, which in our case, we have flood watches and we have high wind warnings for our area, which covers the impacts that are going to come from this currently tropical but eventually non-tropical system that's coming in.
Speaking of impacts, that's why we have a weather impact alert. This will be for day 3. Had 3 days in a row, the heavy rain we've had Wednesday, today Thursday, and again tomorrow. It is a high impact event.
Very high impact.
And we don't say that lightly. Again, this is something that's going to be very significant for many areas. And our concern, more flooding, and then the high winds. Again, as we talked about, the trees with the weakened root system, the soil shifting, down trees, down power lines, and power outages is certainly something that's going to be in play. It's on the table. Mudslides, rock slides in the mountains. All that could be significant in our area from Tennessee into North Carolina.
And because of that, we've had numerous school closures. I want to point that out for folks who are watching right now.
Yeah.
WBIR.com/closings.
It's a real good website.
With the S. It updates automatically as soon as the organization puts the information in. It comes in there. It doesn't have to.
It's automated. They have the code.
Yeah, it goes right in.
Yeah.
That list is very long right now. So WBIR.com/closings.
Yeah.
Go there, you can read all the latest closings, and if you don't see your school or organization listed there, just check back for updates to it.
Right.
We don't get to choose. They have to put it in.
It's a good thing we don't choose. Should we mention Knox County? I mean, just.
And Knox County's out.
Yeah.
And Blount County. There's a lot of schools out.
I figured, I'm just throwing that up. Probably.
And all extracurricular activities have been canceled in Knox County. I'm sure other places are as well. So check on that because your high school football games may have been canceled and moved to Saturday.
Right.
So let's walk through this forecast here and see what's going to happen.
And that is, John Becker was telling us that as well. Even if it hasn't been moved yet, the athletic director with Knox County and other athletic directors at schools, they're actually, as we speak, probably talking about that very thing. So a lot of, just a strong hint, a lot of those games are probably going to be moved to Saturday. Some of them are playing tonight if they can. Don't know about tomorrow night, but a lot of those will be moved to Saturday, so check on that.
So the plume of moisture already extends from the Gulf of Mexico well up here to East Tennessee. So rain, heavy rain, going to continue overnight tonight as that moisture works inland. This is our water vapor product.
It's amazing. Look at that definition right there.
This shows the amount of moisture in the mid and the upper levels of the atmosphere. So this is dry air.
You're on the dry side, Cass.
I'm on the dry side.
I'm over here drenched.
He's with the tropical moisture over here.
Drenched over here.
So he's got a lot. So that's what we're showing right here is this very, very distinct line.
Yeah.
But it's actually this feature up here to the northwest where you see that counterclockwise motion. That is an upper level low pressure system. That is key to why once Helene comes inland, it's going to make this sharp left turn. It's going to get wrapped into that low.
Right.
And that's also why we may see rain chances continue into the weekend, even though Helene's going to be falling apart.
Yeah, more of the general variety. Scattered showers, still some leftover breezy winds, but Helene post-tropical falling apart. Nice transition, by the way. I loved how you pointed that out. But that's going to literally, as you said, it's why it's kind of going to go north and then northwest and then west. It's going to draw itself back into the parent low pressure system, and all that wind and energy is literally going to be funneled across our region.
Part of the reason I also wanted to show that to everyone is because with this system, slight adjustments of the track make a big difference in the type of impacts that we see. So let's talk about that moving forward with a little asterisk that says that. So here comes Helene moving very quickly northward. This is tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. It's somewhere between Atlanta and Augusta as a strong tropical storm, most likely.
Real quick, had a family reunion get canceled because of that right there.
Because of that.
Just a side note, so we're going to have to reschedule that. So yeah, it's impacting a lot of us and changing our plans.
So here's the counterclockwise motion right there. So this is the upsloping into the highlands of South Carolina and western North Carolina.
Upstate, western North Carolina.
But look at this right here. Because of the trajectory of the winds coming up and over and then going down, we're talking about we may end up with a rain shadow. Which means that at times tomorrow morning, a good portion of the valley may actually not have rain happening.
It's kind of a trade-off, right?
But don't get excited about that.
No, don't get excited. Yeah, it's a little bit of a trade-off. We have a lot of heavy rain before that happens, and that likely will happen, that shadow. But about the time the rain shuts off, it's about the exact time the winds can actually go up. Here's the trade-off. If rain goes down, winds go up, then we're concerned about the swaying trees, potentially down trees, and power outages kicking in tomorrow morning.
And so with that system continuing to rotate northward, now look at this. This is now at 11 a.m. We might see breaks in sunshine in the middle right there. But now, counteracting what we've already seen from all this event, now our Southern Valley, and especially our plateau counties, may actually get more of the heavy rain later in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one model forecast, but that's the general gist of what we're looking at.
And now this is Friday, 10 p.m. Now it's still raining on the plateau. Here's the remnants of Helene, and then they kind of rotate back to the east as we go through the day on Saturday. How much rain we see on Saturday really depends on how quickly Helene falls apart and where it meanders. Some models keep it over here, some models take it over there. Check back for updates.
Yeah, it looks like scattered, and if the football games move to Saturday, you're probably going to need a poncho. It's probably going to be your typical scattered showers, maybe light precipitation, but breezy, showery, cool weather. But relatively compared to what we're going to see tonight, tomorrow, much improved. A little bit more of a picnic, if you will, Saturday versus Friday.
And Sunday could still have a couple scattered showers across the area. Now, look at the rainfall totals here. Notice how high they are over on this side of things now. So if we zoom in on it, there's the higher rainfall totals in western parts of North Carolina. But look at this. This is a big change.
Yeah, and this is going forward.
Yes,
from
moving
this point.
forward.
Like what we've already had, it's under the bridge, but now going forward.
So this is good news for the flooding risk. We do still have the flooding for the rest of the night tonight, but later tomorrow morning, as we were showing you might get some big breaks in the rain in the lighter blue areas, and that's great news.
Yes.
Darker areas, your flood risk goes up as we go through the day tomorrow, as the wind also increases. And so let's talk about the alerts that we have. Flood watch, area-wide, everybody under the flood watch until at least 2 p.m. This is for the potential of localized flash flooding or aerial flooding. That's where just general flooding is happening because the ground's saturated. We've had too much rain.
And that's one word, not a real flooding. It's just, no, anyway, aerial flood, widespread flooding.
And that's what we actually have right here. This is an aerial flood warning that the National Weather Service office in Morristown is like, everyone. It has rained so much that at this point there is likely standing water, and local rivers, creeks, and streams are rising and coming out of their banks. The bigger rivers, it's going to take a little bit longer, but those are already rising too.
They're already rising. Are they ever?
Yes.
Especially coming out of North Carolina. We'll show that now.
So the Clinch River, we actually just got a video from a viewer about that. It was at winter levels, super duper low, because remember we're in a drought. And it's already coming up. It's turbulent and brown and something you don't want to get anywhere close to. Same with the Nolichucky River coming into the Greenville area. These are the two rivers we're most concerned about. They could actually reach major flood stage.
French Broad and Pigeon. Not just what we're seeing in East Tennessee, but a lot of this is flowing out of North Carolina, hitting the mountains, steep slope terrain. That's where you have a lot more runoff, and all that water, it takes a while for it to get into the smaller tributaries, into the larger tributaries as well, the rivers. And Cassie, it has been significant in North Carolina. It's going to have more heavy rain in this area. Again, really going to, as you said, French Broad and Pigeon. That's going to be an issue that's still in days to come. Even after it stops raining, we're going to see those water rises continuing there.
So for the French Broad River, it's expected to crest on Saturday morning as of right now. In major flood stage, there's a campground that apparently floods pretty bad when that happens. The Pigeon River comes right through downtown Newport. that is expected to reach a top 5 level of crests for the water levels, something that was seen maybe in February of 2020, or you have to go back a lot farther for that.
Wow.
The bottom line is, if you live in a typically flood-prone area that when the water gets high with any of these rivers,
Right.
you need to move to higher ground or keep a very close eye on the water. It will rise very quickly as all that rainwater comes downstream. And then those rivers empty into our larger reservoirs that TVA manages,
Right.
like Cherokee Lake, Norris Lake, and especially Douglas Lake. It's already risen a foot.
Yeah, we were sitting a foot to foot and a half already in one day.
And TVA estimates that Dandridge or Douglas Lake
Right.
could rise another 16 feet in the coming days as all that water continues to drain into that basin. And they have to hold it there because otherwise we'll have flooding all the way downstream as well. So if you
Wow.
live along any of our major reservoir lakes, especially Douglas Lake, secure any loose objects that you have near the lake level because it's going to be going up.
Oh my goodness, it's so low now. How would you like to be tasked with that job? Okay, we're going to give you 16 feet of water
Here it comes.
to manage in a large, I mean, they do a great job, but that's incredible how much water we're going to
So much
see
water.
going into these reservoirs and systems.
And so on top of the rain, that's what we've covered extensively,
Right.
the wind.
Let's
This
talk
is
about
the
the
thing
wind.
that I think most folks tonight are going to be like, what's happening?
Right.
The wind is going to pick up overnight.
Yeah.
And we could have gusts as high as 65 miles per hour in the lower elevations, all the way across our viewing area.
Yeah.
The high elevations, that's above about 4,000 to 5,000 feet.
Right.
80 mile per hour wind gusts possible up there, and then up on Cumberland and Fenchurch gusts up to 40 miles per hour.
Right.
65 mile per hour winds in fully leafed trees, soggy soil, and by the way, the wind's going to change direction. So for a minute,
That's
the
right.
trees are going to be pushed this way, and then the wind's going to go this way. So if they weren't already loose, they will be loose.
That's actually an excellent point. The wind shifting around. National Weather Service, I think it was Nathan made a great point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the mountains, they're especially higher up, they're kind of used to seeing
Yeah.
60, 70. I mean, I know it's really high, but they're kind of used to seeing that wind. The mountains, those higher peaks, the trees are kind of used to seeing it. Not used to seeing this much wind
In
for
the
a
low
large area.
elevations.
So think about that. Yeah, these trees.
That's severe
are gonna-
thunderstorm,
hello.
by the way. 65, because 60 is severe thunderstorm
That's-
criteria.
Exactly.
So
That's
we're
severe
talking,
winds.
so we're talking winds gusting into the severe thunderstorm criteria level.
Right.
The Weather Service is not going to be issuing severe thunderstorm warnings because
Right.
this is an area-wide pressure gradient thing,
Right.
not individual cells
Exactly.
that are going to be doing this. And this can happen outside of where it's raining.
Right.
So that's why we also wanted to show you the break in the rain, but tell you, like, don't rest, don't relax, because the wind is still going to be kicking up in those areas. With our fully leafed trees, the saturated ground, downed trees are likely.
Yeah.
Power outages, likely.
Yeah.
So overnight tonight, go ahead and plug in and charge your devices.
Right.
And then tomorrow, plan on maybe waking up without an alarm clock and trying your best not to open the refrigerator to keep your stuff cool and just making the best of it tomorrow.
So we can sleep in tomorrow without the alarm. Just tease a little bit. Yeah, I mean, exactly. All that's on the table. And we're hoping for the best, that maybe the impacts will be minimized as much as possible. But the threat is certainly very real. With this much wind, we're going to take a look at the winds and also the direction as Helene approaches. And we'll start right here with tonight. The high wind warning starts officially in 7 minutes from right now.
So overnight, here's how things go. They increase dramatically. So by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., this is why a lot of schools are out, because school buses can't drive when we have wind gusts like this. Notice how the winds are coming from the northeast, and the strongest gusts are coming right down the valley. So from up near Rogersville and Morristown down to the Maryville area, kind of paralleling the mountains.
Right.
And then there's the center of circulation.
There's the center
right
of circulation, just it's right here. But
and so now it's moved up kind of. Now this could change.
This is kind of cool though. Look where it is with that minimum winds.
So here's the thing though. That could shift to the east.
Yeah.
That could come to the west. And that's why I don't want folks to focus on the exact numbers that you're seeing on here. This is a general broad idea.
Yeah.
That the winds are going to shift. They're going to come out of the northeast in the morning. Through the late morning, they're going to start to change. And by the time we get in the afternoon.
Interesting. It was near Maryville. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Coming up from the south.
They were coming up at the south. They're shifting.
Here we go.
So literally from northeast, then shifting around. I mean, it was kind of interesting between Lenore City and Maryville. That's kind of cool.
We'll see.
It's not like a pure eye. You can go up and say like a hurricane, but center of circulation. And then it'll come hauling out of the south, and we get that back end kick, and that's 1 p.m. So again, we've got a weather impact alert that's going to continue at least into the early to mid-afternoon tomorrow. And then here's the good news, and for those high school football games to get shifted to Saturday, and just in general, the winds will gradually relax again as it weekends.
They'll like stair step.
Yeah, stair step.
Saturday's still probably going to be a little bit breezy.
It's still breezy, yeah.
Yeah, and then on Saturday night and into Sunday, we're back down to calm. Now, I want to point out too that the park, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and the forests in general, you do not want to be there over the next 24 hours, maybe even 48 hours. Down trees, definitely expected.
Right.
They've closed the visitor centers in Great Smoky Mountains National Park until at least Saturday morning.
441 is also closed.
US 441, Newfound Gap is closed as well.
Yeah.
You really just want to stay away from there because between the flooding and the down trees, if you get into a bad situation, someone's going to have to come help you, and now you've put someone else in a bad situation. So even if you're a risk taker, think of others, and please do not drive into floodwaters. Please do not drive into areas where trees could come down.
That's a great point. You don't want to be driving late tonight and in the morning while it's heavy raining and then the high winds move for what you just said. Because when the wind's blowing the hardest, you don't have to keep your eyes on the road and not have to look up at those trees. You know, we've all kind of been there at some point when you've been in a bad storm, and if you're near trees and you see them swaying, you want to be off the roads, number one, because of the danger from falling trees and floodwaters, and you want to be safe and stay put and then wait for this system to move out by later Friday and Saturday and Sunday. It will be improving. So.
And I wanted to add one more thing. When I mentioned the severe thunderstorm part, we are not expecting severe weather from the standpoint of we're not going to have individual cells moving through our area. But as we just showed you, severe level gusts.
Severe winds are possible.
Severe winds are possible area-wide.
Right.
And we have had some people ask about tornadoes because on the leading edge of tropical systems, as they move inland, you do get that extra rotation.
Yeah.
Far upper East Tennessee.
It's behind my back.
Like Greenville, Northeast.
Right.
Early tomorrow morning, there is a chance of a rotating storm.
Yeah.
In these type of events, it's always good to have a way to receive weather alerts and notifications. But overall, the risk for severe weather is basically none for East Tennessee. But that's not to say we're not going to have that wind is going to be whipping tomorrow.
Yeah.
So even if you don't get a severe thunderstorm warning on your phone, you may need to be taking shelter if the winds get a little too intense for you.
Yeah, just be weather alert, be weather wise. Okay, well, wait a minute. These are severe winds. That's why we have a high wind warning.
Yeah.
So that's in place.
These are going to be intense winds tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's not because of severe weather. It's because of a tropical system coming on up here.
You get some wind blowing right there on the weather impact alert tomorrow, Cass.
Weather impact alert. Going into Saturday, still breezy, still scattered showers. Slightly more showers into the day on Sunday.
Yeah.
Maybe lingering into Monday. Depends on how Helene likes to linger in East Tennessee.
Now, about this time, with about 5th, 6th day in a row, maybe 7th day of rain, keep in mind we're in a drought and we needed the rain because maybe we want to think, when's the sun coming back out? Hang in there. Keep in mind we need that rain. Just get a little bit extra drink there.
And look at the temperatures.
Yeah.
Our average high is now 79, by the way. So we are around average as we go into next week. And it looks like at about midweek next week, a front might come through and make it feel a little more like fall.
Well, hey, Cass, look at this. We got a 58 and a 54. Bring it. Tuesday, October 1st. And there you go. Right? Don't you love when the weather and the atmosphere does it? Right by the time you flip the calendar page over, a brand new month and maybe a different weather pattern as we start to dry out with sunshine. October, if you're new to East Tennessee or you're visiting watching this stream, October is usually a beautiful month in East Tennessee. Real quick, Neil Denton said maybe we'll get a rescue rain at some point to help our fall foliage because a lot of trees have already, we're done, and the leaves have already come down. And if they hadn't, tonight and tomorrow, see ya. But some of maybe we'll get some of this rain will help our beautiful fall foliage as we move into October. If the wind doesn't take them off, that's a great point.
If the wind doesn't rip them off the trees, then we might get some decent leaves coming up because the weather will be very nice for fall foliage.
Yes.
After Helene moves on through.
Yeah, so we'll certainly hope for the best, and that's something that we'll be looking at down the road. But again, certainly stay weather alert. We do have that weather impact alert that will continue tonight and tomorrow. We'll be right here at Channel 10 and streaming to keep you updated the best we can and to stay on top of it. But Cassie, you did a great job of pointing out of what you need to do is charge your devices and try to not get out on the roads. Don't drive. Stay hunkered down at home.
Yep.
Follow us right here on all your devices on air and online, and we'll do our best. We're all in this together, and hopefully we'll get through it without too much significant damage, but it is going to be impactful for a large area. So if you have family and friends anywhere in the southeast, they're likely going to be impacted as well.
All right, folks, going to get windy tonight.
Yeah.
Stay off the roads, and we'll keep you up to date here at WBIR.
Time for dinner. Have a good night.